In case you haven't heard of Harvey Maps, I thought it would be interesting just to do a quick introduction to their maps and have a look at how they differ from OS Maps, Ordnance Survey. Oh, and for transparency, I have to say I'm not sponsored or affiliated in any way with Harvey Maps or any other cartographer, and all the equipment that I use in my videos it's my own property which I've paid for. The first thing to note is that on all quality maps since 1874 show relative altitudes by using contour lines, and all outdoor maps show paths and tracks and roads and rock outcrops and rivers and lakes and forest. But the difference between the various maps is the way that these features are displayed. And so if you're not used to a certain type of map, before you can use it, you'll need to learn how to visualize the terrain from what's shown on their maps, and then you'll be able to use it to navigate from somewhere to somewhere else, and you'll be able to do that safely. The first thing that everybody will notice about Harvey Maps, if you're not used to, if you've not used them before, is that they're a lot more, They're a lot more colourful than you may be used to. And the reason for this is that entire regions on the map are shown, with a light green background shade, and this indicates farmland. I'm in the Yorkshire Dales in northern England at the moment, and in this area most farmland will be, like what you can see behind me. This is close cropped grassland used for sheep. But in other areas of the UK, a light green shade could indicate farmland that's used for crops. And Harvey Maps also use different background shades of green to indicate different types of forests and trees. Another use of shade, which you may not be used to, is that Harvey Maps indicate bands of altitude using different colours, and this makes visualising the general shape of the terrain, really simple. At the moment, I'll show you where I am. I'll drop this on your screen. I'm at this wall track junction, and the hill behind me, that one there, that's Simon's Fell, and you can see that it stretches southwest all the way towards Ingleborough, which is that one over there that you can see in the distance. And this is where the bands of altitude shading on the map becomes really useful. If we look at the map here, we can see clearly that the shape of the terrain above the 525 contour is highlighted in a light brown shade. Above the 600 contour, the shape is more pronounced because, due to the light blue shading. And you can see there's a very wide, hopefully easy ridge going from Simon Fell, going southwest towards the top of Ingleborough. And from there, there's a spur coming out to the south. If you remember, I said that you should be able to visualize the terrain from the details on the maps. And Harvey Maps makes this, I think it makes it really simple. Today, I think I'll go to the top of Simon's Fell, and from there, I'll go along the ridge and up to the summit of Ingleborough. And well, that's my plan. But as always, I need to know what the walk is going to be like, between those 2 points. So if we look at the map, we can see that as soon as I leave the top of Simon Fell, the ground will drop away towards the southwest. On my left, I'll walk past some small raised areas. You can see this by looking at these round complementary contours. I'll explain complementary contours. On these Harvey Maps, contours are set at 15-metre intervals. But if there's some ground which doesn't cut through to the next 15-metre height, the next 15-metre height gain, Harveys show a supplementary contour. And this just lets you know that there's a raise or a drop in that place and the general shape of the feature. The next thing you can see are these blue half circles. All outdoor maps show different types of vegetation or ground cover, but I've not seen this type of thing on any other map other than Harvey's. And these symbols indicate peat hags, H-A-G-S. And so you know that most of the time you're going to be walking over very wet ground. A peat hag is formed where waters seeps into the layers of peat, and over the years this causes small gullies to form where the water runs down, and eventually the water will wash away the ground at the base, and you're left with large mounds with very damp very damp vegetation at the bottom. There'll be a cliff or a crag on my right, so I'll need to look out for this. But in this area, it almost certainly will be a crag. Oh, if English isn't your first language, by the way, the difference between a cliff and a crag is that a cliff is a rock face, which is normally almost vertical, between two different pieces of ground. Like what you get on the coast, where you have ground and then it drops straight down to the beach. A crag it's just a mass of rock which sticks out from the surrounding ground. Then there's a track which will be just to my right, the right of which my route, and this runs along the 600 meter contour line, and this is shown by black dashes that you can see on the map. As the ground starts to rise, I'll come across a wall junction, and after that the track follows a public right of way. The ground should change, well, according to the map, it should change from peat to scree. Scree is just small stones or rocks, so it should be a little drier. But then again, it's been snowing for quite a while around here, so walking over scree, it may be a bit slippy. I'll go past the cairn, which I'll presume is for people wanting to go down the Clapham footpath. And then there are some more cairns near the top, just near the trig point. So that's my plan. So let's go up and see if all this feature recognition was correct. Oh, in some countries, feature recognition is called terrain association. Anyway, I'll get my rucksack and we shall set off and see how far we get up there. What a truly amazing place this is. The temperature at the moment is about -10. I'm hoping it's going to warm up. We shall see. If you look behind me, you can actually see the Ribblehead Viaduct down there. That was built in the 1870s, and there's a direct link between that history of that viaduct and the history of the USA, or America as it is now. The whole of America now is wondering, oh God, what's he going to say? More waffle. I've got a question for all Americans watching this. And what on earth has this got to do with Harvey's Maps? I honestly don't know. So I'm going to carry on, keep walking up until I get to the summit of Simon Fell. It is really cold up here. I'll carry on. This is the summit of Simon Fell, and I'm hiding behind this wall from the wind, which is a bit gnarly today, to say the least. This Harvey map has a 1 to 40,000 scale, and you can also get Harvey maps of 1 to 25,000 in this area. As it's a 1 to 40,000 map, this means that each millimetre on the map is 40 metres on the ground. And from here, it is approximately 36 millimetres to Ingleborough Summit. So that's 1,450 metres, or just about 0.9 of a mile. On a bearing of, let's have a look quickly, 245. There's no declination in this area at the moment, so magnetic and grid are about the same. Now, 1,450 metres with an ascent of around 130 metres should take 22.5 minutes. We'll call it 24 or 25. Now, I know all my collecting features that I'll see along the way, and my catching feature will be that if at any time after the first 300 metres I start walking downhill, then I need to stop and look at my map, because things may have gone slightly wrong. I think it happens now and again. So as you can see, once you've worked out the style of these maps, you can navigate using them in the same way as you can using any other map. But as I said before, you do need to get used to the different layouts and styles of these Harvey maps. Now, of course, there is one major difference between Harvey Maps and the Ordnance Survey, and it's this. The Ordnance Survey is the UK government's official mapping agency. you know. And it's because of this that their maps, they're not specifically designed for people wanting to go out walking in the hills, you know. Don't misunderstand that. Obviously they can be used for that. I do it all the time, but that's not their main function. OS maps are very detailed, as they have to contain information from a wide range of users, such as urban planners, local governments, utility suppliers, and the land registry, etc., etc. They do produce maps which are sort of aimed at outdoor enthusiasts, like the OS Land Ranger series. But even those, they still have lots of information which is not much use to your average hill walker, such as political boundaries, and the details of different types of train tracks, So the OS is constrained by their political owners, which is the government, on the types of maps that they can publish. But Harvey Maps they're a private company, and they, because of that, they can put whatever they want onto a map or leave off. They can literally print whatever they want. And their maps are specifically aimed at outdoor people. So they only put on what is needed by most outdoor people. They include symbols and icons for natural features and unnatural features, such as footpaths and peaks and mountain huts. But there's only a limited selection of icons and symbols for man-made structures, unless they are directly relevant to outdoor navigation. I think, I may be wrong, but I think the aim is to include relevant information, but keep the map as uncluttered as possible. Oh, again, sorry, if English isn't your first language, the difference between an icon and a symbol is that, I'm trying to think how to describe it. Icons are designed to remind you of the feature they're indicating. As an example, the icon for a wind turbine looks like a wind turbine. The icon for a campsite looks like a tent. But symbols are different, as these don't look like what they're describing. You have to learn them. I'll give you an example. On the OS map, the symbol for a nature reserve is a blue duck, even if there aren't any ducks in that nature reserve. On Harvey Maps, the symbol for a train station is a red dot. It's just so icons look like what they're describing and symbols don't. I think that's the best way of putting it. What was I saying? Oh yeah, talking about Harvey Maps. This is the trig point on the top of Ingleborough. There's a windbreak about 50 meters in that direction, so we'll go over there and have another chat. So that's a brief introduction to these Harvey Maps. As I said, the main thing to keep in mind is if you're used to using OS maps, then you'll need to learn what all the different markings and shades and icons and symbols mean on these maps. But it really doesn't take long, and being able to use different maps and different compasses and other equipment, it can only be a good thing, as it makes you a more rounded navigator. Anyway, thanks for watching, and the weather today has been a bit gnarly, but luckily I do have some, oh look at this, chicken and vegetable soup. So I'll leave you now and I'll carry on with this. I mean, this is what you need on a day like this, chicken and vegetable soup.